Perspective. Perspective.
Perspective.
Welcome, family. This is your host, Vontae Swank, and you are now tuned in to Perspective Junkies.
Junkies.
From the whole Perspective Junkies crew, we just want to wish all of our fellow junkies out there a happy Thanksgiving, a happy Native American Heritage Day, a happy Black Friday, and a happy Cyber Monday. And however you enjoying this holiday, whether it be solo or with the fam, just be thankful for the moments that we get. Just, breathing another breath. Shouts out to that. So, on last week's episode, we talked about, should you be thanking your partner for loyalty, or is that just expected? We also talked about, can Serena Williams be considered the number one athlete playing tennis? I don't know. So, it was a great discussion. Please go check that out. On this week's episode, though, we talked about an array of things. And we started out with the mulatto biracial comment, and, whether or not biracial people should be claiming it like that, or they gotta say they black. So that was a good conversation. We also talked about family structure, the future of kids right now, and everything, like looking forward. Like, it was a real forward thinking episode. And I sprinkled on a little mental health on the end, so please go listen for that. Other than that, please show love wherever you see fit, on YouTube, on the podcast apps, however you doing it, please show love. And we gonna keep showing love back by bringing you these episodes. Enjoy. You wanna start us off with some prayer too?
What's a prayer?
Yeah. Peep your hoodie. Right, you got the dope hoodie on.
God is dope. You need to remember that at all times.
I want to tell y'all what Cody said before we got in the car. I'm not gonna say.
What? Kids, what?
Go ahead.
Cody said, "Oh yeah, I believe in God."
I am honestly finding myself back to the Lord, man. Like,
Wait. So you back on it?
I'm really getting back on the campaign.
What's the quest been like?
I think a lot of people, they go to college and they just kind of get away from it. And I was kind of like, yeah, this isn't adding up with my observations. Like,
Cody was like, this nigga ain't talking about shit.
But later, I look back on it and I more so don't believe in fundamentalism. Fundamentalism, religious. Like, I don't believe in those type of practices because it comes too rigid and you can end up being evil in the pursuit of it. Mm-hmm. But in the actual structure, the actual moral composition, I essentially agree with most of the ideas. And you know what I'm saying? I heard one philosopher say, he's like, there's a moment that precedes the Big Bang, and we have no information about that. And I'm like, that kind of connects my idea that there could be something. And I just don't feel comfortable on that other stuff that, I once was. I was like, damn, I was tripping.
You feel like you was in the world just kind of raw.
Yeah, I was like, I understood that some of it satisfied my need for logic, but some of it I was like, there needs to be some little bit of a structure to this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we might need to really dedicate an episode to that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Cody said Noah made an ark by himself.
I ain't going.
I ain't going. Something adding to it, but look, we're gonna get into the topic.
To the bread and butter.
Recently we dropped on the page, Perspective Sunday, the question of the day. I don't know if anybody heard the Mulatto interview, the little clip.
Shout out to Harlem. He's the inspiration for this episode.
He is the inspiration.
I'm sorry you can't defend yourself right now.
One of the closest dudes I am to that's white.
That's an inside. I'll explain it later.
Harlem.
Joey though, him too.
But anyway, so in the last interview, she's asked about her identity, and she essentially says, "I don't like to identify as black or white. I'm biracial." And there is a lot of backlash on social media and things of that nature. So, we'll just get into our opinions. Kenzie, you can start us off.
Hold on. Before we start, I feel like we need to get the actual definition of mulatto. So, let's get that.
Get the textbook definition of mulatto. As far as I know, it wasn't like Caribbean people with slave masters ended up with mulatto children.
I didn't know it was Caribbean. I just thought it was like the kids of a white-black combo.
Oh, okay. I believe it. I thought it started in the Caribbean.
Y'all listening?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I am speaking. Mulatto in Spanish commonly refers to a mixed race ancestry that includes white, European, and black African roots across Latin America. These are the two terms most commonly used to describe people of mixed race background.
Okay.
Biracial.
Okay.
No, see, black.
So Kenzie, go ahead.
Black.
Explain to us your opinion. What's your vibe on that?
My opinion on that is I only feel like she would have been wrong and she was the type of mixed person, like, you know, the recent happening that's going on with the protesting for black people, and she was like, Mulatto, where you stand? She like, shit, I stand in the middle because I'm biracial. If she did that, then I'm like, okay, she's a nut job. But I don't think she's the type to run away from the problems of being a black woman. Therefore, she could claim being biracial, because just like a white person could stand next to you and protest, you feel me? And you allow them to do it. So why can't she just say, I'm biracial, but I still suffer the same issues as a black woman? So what's the problem with identifying as being biracial?
Right.
That's all I was saying. Harlem wasn't fucking.
So what we've been hearing is that it denounces, I guess, her blackness, and you know what I'm saying, and somehow she's not representing her culture enough because she's not claiming that she is a black woman, and it's not being said in that particular term. And I think that's horseshit.
I agree.
But, you know, my reasoning for that is, you know, like Cody, we all had our phase of super black wokeness, and I feel like we kind of grew out of it in a sense.
Yeah.
Not to say that we're not still fighting for our black community, but more so, it's a bigger picture. What Baby said, ain't what Baby said. Anyway, but it's a bigger picture because all in all, like, I don't want us to be a fragile race anymore. Like, I don't want us to be so inflicted by what other people are judging of us. We seem to have held our own. We are the culture. So, you know what I'm saying, if she's emulating her culture and our culture most of all, then, like, if she wants to identify as both, then that's on her because it's actually the facts.
Word.
And at the end of the day, you know, she has a different experience being biracial than a fully black person is. Like, she gets some black experience and she gets a different experience because she's under a different umbrella than we are. And
also, like, first generation, you know, down my line, there's some white. And down Vontae line, he probably got some white. Down Cody got an auntie and uncle that is white. You feel me? But we going straight to, like, your parent. Your mom might be white, your dad's black, or vice versa. That's what we're talking about right now. First generation. Don't go down like, my great grandma white.
Right. I think I got some Cuban in me.
Like, you nigga.
All right. But first, before I say my opinion, can you go to the responses we got on Instagram, kind of, so we can address the...
As I'm looking for these responses, I also want to give y'all Harlem's argument since he's not here.
Go ahead and give the opponent's argument. We want to give them a fair
If I recall correctly, Harlem's argument is, which isn't completely wrong, he's just saying, well, I don't think nobody's wrong in this sense because none of us are biracial. But
He was white.
Harlem, yeah, his grandma's white. That's one of the examples I was talking about. But he's saying that you're not... You gotta say you black first, because basically the white man sees you, if you got a little bit of Negro in you, he's like, you black. So you need to walk around and say you black no matter what, even though you are truly biracial, and it's wrong to even claim biracial first before saying I'm black and I got some white in me. Like, that's how he wanted it to be said. So, you know, that wouldn't be a wrong way to say it at all, but at the same time, there's no real white way. There's no real right way to say it if you really are biracial and you say, like, I don't like to choose a side because I'm both. If you're 50 and 50, like, okay, it is what you half and half, like Kramer is.
Okay, so what were the responses on the ground?
Cody posted the clip and asked.
Cody's showing my face on the story. We just gotta mention that. But let's go ahead. Cody's showing his perspective.
This is Cody's responses from his story. The first person says, she's biracial. Check. Second person, yes, this response is very wrong. I feel like that's Harlem, maybe not. Is she not both? The response is accurate.
X.
Agreed. I think the problem is that she claims to be a biracial woman when it's convenient for her. 100% fair. That's when I disagree with her also. Somebody said no. Short and sweet. Okay, no. It's only wrong if she runs from black issues while profiting off her black side only.
That's the best answer you could put, really.
And the funny thing is, that's my answer. Politically correct answer. Her dad is blackity black and mom is white. She black.
He just ignored one half of it. All right. So what? My response to it is, I think the comments and responses we're getting to that post reflect a conflict in the black community on our response to these issues. And I think there should be a conflict because what's now getting pushed to me, it resembles an idea of like racial superiority to the point that you believe a product of two different races has to claim one at the forefront. So if it's like a black and an Asian person, do you think that it would be wrong if they said, I am Asian and I'm also black? You're like, nah, you black because you're perceived as black on the physical. I don't know if that's necessarily something that we should strive to want. I think what this originally stemmed from, and me and Vontae were talking about it earlier, was like in elementary, middle school, you see a girl with, curly hair, and she's clearly African American, but, she identifies, hey, I got a little Indian from back in the day. And people be like, just say you black. And we pushed that for a minute. It became like a trend. Like everybody's like, stop doing that. Almost to the point that we've gotten overboard where people who I would say they don't even look like they're only, like they actually have an ambiguous look. Like they really, like they can actually vouch for themselves on the physical as well as their bloodline is direct descendants of two different races. And now we like, nah, you got to pick a side. And picking a side to me is more, it makes sense in a time period where racial divide is so tense that we're almost like gearing up for a war at all times. What if we get to a point where, as much as our racial tension exists, it is not to the point where it's deafening. We can have friendships with white people. We can have relationships with other races and things of that nature. We're not like, hey, you got to team up, you got to be prepared, we got to go to war against them. Like, we're not in that tribal mindset. I don't know if it's beneficial to African Americans to be that way. And the bigger issue for me is just like what Vontae said about, I don't want us to be sensitive as a race. I agree. To me, the idea that we must force subgroups of people who have like African descent in their blood, so they're just brown skin, to claiming black is like wild to me. I think that African Americans who grow up in America who have that culture, you can claim black because you are, if you feel like you're just black. But people who come from Jamaica, who might have a Jamaican culture, might have a Jamaican moral system or religions or whatever, people who come from, Vietnamese, whatever it may be, if they mix with a person of African American descent, they are okay to claim it as that they're split off. They got their own thing. It doesn't mean that they're disclaimer saying, hey, I'm not proud that I'm descendants of African ancestors. It's just that they're claiming their parents. You know what I'm saying? Like, they shouldn't have to downplay their identity and their upbringing. So, and just like what Avante said, at one point I actually sided with people with that. But then I realized, like, in doing so, they may have to downplay something that's very near and dear to them, a part of themselves. So I don't know if that's the solution. So I don't feel as though it's a problem. I feel like it should never be a problem for someone to state fact. And all she did was state, I'm black and I'm white, I'm biracial. So I don't think it's a wrong thing at all.
Yeah. But, I had to ask, did you have something you was trying to?
No, I'm
not.
All right,
I was making sure. You seemed like you was holding the story over there for a minute.
I was holding. Just carry on.
Alright, so just to add to that, like, I feel like if we are we're looking into the time where it was that one drop rule and going by that, because that feels empowering to us. But I wanted us to realize that as time went on, we got to tell more of the story of each individual. Like, before, it might have just been whites and colors, you know what I'm saying? And then whatever color you was, you just a color. And so, like, now, as they move forward, it becomes black, this race, maybe Caribbean, and that's how people identify with their story and their, lineage and all of that. And so the more that we can, help classify people and where they want to identify with and what, culture influenced them on how they were being raised, I feel like that's their right to speak that story and, recognize who they really are. So, that's like my last little tidbit on it. Kenzie, you got anything else?
I just hate when people of our people in our age group still trying to defer back to what their parents went through, even though progress has been made.
Update the opinions.
Another
observations.
Another thing Harlan kept saying, like, his dad is biracial because his mother is white and his dad's black. He's like, nah, bro, I ain't never did all that. I'm black. Like, I'm black. I'm like, maybe back then you were right. Back then, Harlem, like 30 years ago, I can't disagree with you. You probably should just like walk around like black because they is gonna treat you like. But no, it's a big difference. Identity is a big thing now, and you're allowed to classify yourself how you are, and it's literally her mother's white, her dad's black. I can't get upset over that.
Let's also like make sure we clarify that, so we all are agreeing that in that first parent mom household, that's in the case that you most likely claim biracial, and if it goes to grandparents and all that, you saying a little less than that.
Yeah, I'll be like, hey, you trying to do too much, bro.
I personally, yeah. Some people don't want to say that. They want to say you shouldn't be the gatekeeper at all. And some people are very tight, strict gatekeepers. To me, it's just like, as simple as if you are direct descendants of mixed parents, then you have full. But after that, not even with just blackness. Let's say your dad was black and white, your mom was white. The next, the next generation, if y'all keep going white, y'all white. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would say you're probably going to identify. If it's Asian and, and Hispanic, the next generation, if they go Hispanic again, it's about to start getting just Hispanic. Like, you have to maintain the connection. I don't believe in the 50 years down the road. You know what I'm saying? Like, way deep into your ancestry. I'm like, because at that point, just an understanding of science, I feel like there's a lot of interconnectedness between our cultures, just because of war and rape and things of that nature. So I don't think it's really necessary to go that far back, and I don't think our race, people don't want to go with the MLK route, but in the future you would not want it to be such a big issue that you need to feel a certain type of emotional response to. You want to get to the point where it's just like, that's just your qualifier. Like, I'm a boy, I'm black, I'm German, whatever the case may be. But let's go ahead and switch gears. Another issue that is kind of, I don't know if it's on the youth timeline like that, but there's a book called Irreversible Damage. And this book, Irreversible Damage, is about teenage girls and the trend of, starting to go transgender. Yeah. And the books have been stripped from certain, people have been trying to protest to kind of get it dropped. Target took away its ads. Amazon took away its ads. I'm sure it'll still sell because of the allure of that. But, what is you guys' response to the wave of censorship in our society right now?
I want to know, why do they want to censor things but also try to introduce everything? Like in commercials, they'll have like a gay couple raising a kid. Mm-hmm. So if you're not going to censor a commercial, why wouldn't you allow people to read that book,
Are you saying that you should censor gayness?
No, I'm saying
you worded that.
I'm saying if you gonna censor a book, like, how you gonna allow commercials like that? Okay. If you're not gonna censor the commercial, let the book go. Like,
and somebody that's like, a gay couple is completely normal, but they're bashing. Like, that's what would be the response to that.
Yeah. You said what?
They'll be like, a gay couple is completely normal.
Yeah.
And bashing, or I guess shaming someone for, their decisions on that isn't, in their head. Because it's going against the new ideologies that we're trying to introduce as
they're
left
nuts.
wing and all that.
You feel me? If you support, I'm not gonna say.
I'm gonna start. Let me start.
I want to say my take.
No, listen. I feel as though. First off, I feel as though the transgender situation is different for teenagers because it's a permanent decision if they, actually do take the hormone situation. So I don't think it should be looked at as just a way of thinking or feeling. Whereas I believe that homosexuality is perfectly fine because you're just being yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so you think they should censor?
Censor what?
The book.
No, not at all. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that it should be more open because it's the claim is not immoral. It's actually it's a scientific study. Like, they're seeing that there's an increase of young girls. It's like, I feel regret about changing to, a dude. And then, what I'm saying? It's hard to make that change back, and they're forming groups of that nature. So there's just statistics, and I guess it's a trend in middle school that girls are getting like influenced to do this, and they find out later that they're not really with that. So I think that information is critical for parents. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that should be out, even if it comes off as a little bit of controversial. But the idea of censorship to me, it's kind of piggybacking what you said. I would word it a little different, but I just feel as though, like you said, a world that is breaking social norms consistently should be super open to differing opinions and explanations for everything. Like, if you're gonna try to be different, I believe that you should be cool with everybody questioning it, challenging it, and you know what I'm saying, and you just explaining it. You know, I don't believe that it should be like you can only pick and choose this type of ideology. It should be, the world should be open to different type of information, different angles, and if the research backs it up, let it back up. Now, if it's just saying, hey, go cause physical violence against someone, then I believe that should be censored. But dissenting opinions, I don't think that's right. You know, and I see that type of energy reflected. Even when we talk on Twitter, like, people will say something that, like, everything is such a major issue, they can't even just, like, debate. Just explain to me what is wrong or right about what I'm saying. Like, people will always, I ain't even gonna get in that. Cody, I thought better of you. I'm like, what did I say? Like, I just disagree with you. Like, people making like I'm actually doing something evil to have a different opinion. So I believe censorship, not only is it negative for information to increase and progress, I think it spreads into the culture where people try to censor whatever is not the popular opinion. And you need unpopular opinions to keep everything tight and right.
I think even more importantly, we can't deny the facts. And, like, it seems like with this censorship culture, we're moving in a direction that is either one, they're just flooding with all these different options and trying to just decipher what they feel like is against the, how you saying, the normal ideology. And with that, you're taking away the opportunity for people to make informed decisions on what they're actually doing.
Right.
And, like, it's just trying to go so heavy with the culture that it's not pushing against it to, like, try to really get people to think and really consider these things and not just have a trend of shit. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, like, with that, like, I also want to talk about that actual subject of the irreversible, because, you know, that's an even greater issue, really, though. Right. Like, we got to talk about, will we allow our children to make any type of decision like that? Because that's kind of like the under crust of that debate, really, is like, will you allow your children to, you know, if they feel like they're in a different body than what they were born in, like, how soon can they make that decision?
The answer is 18. Anything before that, crazy ass decision.
18? That still might be too early.
I would prefer they do it later.
18, you still in high school.
I mean, 18, they're making a decision for themselves.
Yeah, they're adults. I'm like a 10, 12, 11, 13, 14, 15-year-old. You over there, you giving them the A-OK to make such a serious decision on their life. I'm like, bro.
I would get real old. I'm like, as soon as you leave my roof, you do what you want. 18? No.
I just, not only that, I think it's people, and this is what I say with censorship and you know what I'm saying, the culture of our social media, it allows people to believe that what is actually the popular opinion is rare. Our opinion that, hey, these are kids, you know, kids don't make the call or the shot. That's, a lot of people agree with that. I would say at least 60% of the population agrees with that. But at this moment, it feels different in 2010. People feel weird to say, hey, that's kind of crazy. Like, why would you let a kid make that? We wouldn't let a kid pick their school. We wouldn't let a kid pick, like, a lot of people have ideas of restrictions on what type of gear you can wear, how much hair or weave you can accept, you know what I'm saying, the dyes, but you're going to let them change their physical body to that extent. Like, when I was in high school, they didn't even let 8th graders lift weights until, like, the end of the summer because their body's still developing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're going to make the change of genders. I believe it's so weighted, and I think that a lot of parents made it sound like you're not truly making a very strong, steadfast decision to me. I think you're getting caught in the emotion of the moment, like, oh, we got to respond to how the kid feeling. Like, sometimes the kid is going to feel uncomfortable as they strive and become a better young adult.
But that's also just the culture that's being fostered right now as far as that, because I believe, you know, most of those parents probably were not as sure as we may have thought that they were when they made the decision, but the culture is making you feel almost guilty, like, are you not a part of the progressive movement if you wouldn't allow your child to make that decision? And just how, like, when we were kids, they had on a lot of commercials for kids to just come on and, like, they're seeing, like, a toy that they really want while they sitting there watching TV, and then they go over here and beg mom to go buy it because they already know that's a hook. And so if you could hook a child that she's gonna get love and be supported by this whole different group, if there are already outsiders within the group that they're in you know, the actual school, that they have another group that they'll be loved, and you'll have a community of people supporting you. Man. This is how many moms and dads have already allowed that, and so you like, all right, this is like seeing a toy on TV. Like, this is a whole societal toy of love and affection I might be able to get if I just go, you know, say, you know, I'm feeling like that, and I got my friends to go back me up and do the same thing.
See, now what are y'all saying if your child comes up to you at like 12, like, I don't think I'm supposed to be a boy. What are y'all doing? What's your reaction?
I love you, son, but I think you're supposed to be a boy. I wouldn't even consider like a deep debate. I'm like, I understand, man. Everybody has, you know, different feelings, and you feel like you need to make certain moves and get older. I understand. I love you, but as for now.
So by like 8th grade, your son's just trying to, like, step one, just be like, you know, homosexual, like want to talk to other boys. What are you saying? Then I would allow him to do that in a healthy way, but I would not allow. Like, to me, it's and this is a whole different issue. This is a different perspective. I know this is controversial, but I think a transsexual is a different ballpark than lesbian and gay and bi. I think lesbian girls, they just like girls. I think gay guys just like guys. I think transsexual, you are morphing into a physical thing that you're changing your body. You're trying to, and that's what I'm like, you could even dress, like, you could even wear the girl clothes. Why do you have to change your actual, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't believe it's a good message for the culture. Just in the same way, I don't think it's good for girls to always get booty surgeries. Hit the squats, dog. Get the vegetables. Get it the right way. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't think dudes are supposed to be getting toupees. We're the dudes. If you go bald, get a beard.
Yeah, get a beard. Hit the gym. Get a better job. Save your money. I don't believe in not accepting. Yeah, not accepting what you got.
That booty thing, you wild, because that's very normal now. Everybody getting it.
Yeah, I've been seeing like regular
people
folks
driving Honda Accords.
No, but
with a bunkie.
It's
fat. No,
what it really is. You will be surprised. You think, oh, okay, someone go to school, or they're educated, or they look pretty attractive and stuff like that. That they're not influenced by the trends.
Yeah, that is a trend right now.
Because to me, as a, you know, saying, when I observe most women, I'm like, you college, you a college grad, pretty, you know what I'm saying? You cute, you ain't nothing crazy, but you're not an unattractive woman. Everything is in line for you to still be straight. What makes you feel like, yo, I gotta do this Hail Mary type? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost the same thought I had when I see dudes who, you know, they might take performance enhancing drugs. Even that, I somewhat get more to them, like, you trying to go to the league. What is it? You just want attraction of mates.
I'm out. If you
trying to go to the league,
I'm about to say 30K followers. They in the league. They in the G League. $1 million.
They just won't look at me unless I got a booty.
And you know what's sad?
Take a different route, baby.
How could we even disagree? Like, they is gonna get, their league is getting a league, nigga. They gonna get it.
I believe that there's a certain way that if you achieve it a certain way, you're not gonna feel right. Like, I could definitely get a weave and get dreads right now, and I'll probably be in a whole different ballpark.
How do y'all feel about Drake? They said Drake got work done, so what y'all saying for him?
Drake got work done?
I heard he got some weird shit going with his stomach, like lipo and ribs moved and shit.
I don't co-sign that shit.
Right,
sure?
Right.
I like his music. Everybody like I gotta be. I'm like, I do not co-sign everything they're doing.
Yeah,
that's a wild
he got like a 6-pack in? Or you just
saying
he just got slimmed down?
I think that man hit the weights, right? He don't look like supermodel. Like, he just looked like a dude who was trying hard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't.
That's word around Toronto. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I'll say this. It's plenty of girls who work out hard as fuck on the gram, and they did get the surgery, and they just kind of keeping it up with that. So,
no, girls are funny. Girls are getting surgery then working out. That's hilarious. Fooling people.
That's cat to me. I hate.
That is horrible.
I can't do that. That's cheat coding it. That's cheat coding
it.
Right?
What's the cheat code?
To me, that's the equivalent of Kizzy. He wants to start becoming a coach that teaches people how to dunk. So in his videos, he's jumping off a trampoline.
Facts.
He's cropping out the trampoline, and everybody just sees him like,
just looking aside.
He's jumping through the roof. I'm like, man. Could you imagine you're an insecure woman, you see a woman who you was going to high school with, she was like, 3,000 pounds or something like that, and all of a sudden you're like, God, goodness gracious, this bitch is beautiful. you gonna get nutty. But I'm like, I feel like you gotta strive to have the composure to be like, alright, you know what I'm saying? If she earns it, great for her. But even if she didn't, like, you have to have some type of self-love. Like, our values have to be rooted in something that is not so passing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay to have some type of jealousy or admiration for something that you want, but you need to learn to hone it. You can't be like a child, like, man, I'm not risk it all. I think when we get into the point where it's becoming so, everything's cool, no big deal, whatever. I'm like, do you, girl? I'm like, come on, bruh. No, stop, bruh. Just love yourself. Go
what do y'all,
work on your fits, work on your body.
What do y'all think this trend is heading? Like, where does it go from here? Because it seemed like it's just like it started with the boobs, and then it got the booty, then it got the stomach tuck. Like where does it go from here? Like, I think it's getting like more and more detailed.
I think it's like what Summer Walker did to her nose.
Yeah, I ain't like that.
I think it's gonna be a trend.
Skinny pig nose.
Like we've been like our last couple of years have been like a wild
talk about
maybe.
noses.
Damn, can I finish?
Okay.
Anyway,
My fault, Mr. Williams.
Look, the last couple of years, I feel like there's been sensitive on certain issues, a lot of changing norms, a lot of like looseness. But there's not no moral code. So I feel like in the future, the generation who's kind of like a pioneer in it, I feel like my age group is part of that. As people start aging, the marriage and kids years increasingly, I think it starts to implode some of the values that they're pushing. You know what I'm saying? Like, as you start having kids, you start having family, you start thinking like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, maybe girls should not just have sex with everybody's men. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna start becoming like, I'm questioning that rule, baby girl. You need to calm it down. When you start having kids, you start thinking, there's certain things little girls shouldn't wear. Or there's certain things that little boys should do if they want to promote a young, and your beliefs start becoming conservative because your life is, you're trying to get something more grounded for your wife, for your husband, for your kid. You start thinking about grandparents. Your vision changes. Whereas I think when you're in this mindset, everything goes, and you kind of questioning all rules. And I was even in that period. I'm like, I question certain rules, but I just think I keep digging, and I'm like, the more I question, I'm like, nah. The old answer was about the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think some people, they'll find that out in like 4 years. Like, that shit didn't make no sense what I was saying at 21. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very likely that'll happen. I just don't think you need to be so arrogant in every idea that if it's radical, there's a chance that someone thought of it before and it didn't work or it didn't evolve. Like, a lot of things, there's a reason why people believe this way for hundreds of thousands of years. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
I feel like right now we're in that time period where we're like peeling back our youth, and sprouting is like our parents. A somewhat version of our parents is starting to come out in like different little ways.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they did kind of ground me in that, and it's starting to just show as like my foundational thought, like, on something like that. But
they definitely did, and that's what brought me even my religious views. I'm like, I see how certain ideologies that are kind of preached in Christianity and preached by my parents make me different from certain people, and I see the people that I think are the most admirable, in regular women to celebrities to regular men to athletes, are a decision to take responsibility, to strive through even though they have tough periods of time, and to think independently. And these are things that, you know what I'm saying, I feel like you have to foster in a certain way, and you have to foster it in the idea that you need to be knowing that you cannot go with the group on everything. Sometimes you gotta, you know what I'm saying, even to work out and to be the best basketball player, you have to work harder. You have to understand that. To actually evolve and be a good man, good father, whatever it is, you have to sacrifice some stuff. I think this is just a mindset that I'm like, why? Why everything?
Right.
Why get married? Why not just go travel the world for 40 years and by yourself? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, if that's what you think is going to be meaningful, do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But I don't believe it's going to be meaningful in the long run, and I don't think people should preach it and mislead a whole generation. People going to be misled. I'm like, people will say, oh, you know what I'm saying, do your own thing forever. And then you go and see they got 3 kids and a husband. I'm like, damn, nigga, you doing the traditional, you taking it the traditional way, and you misled a whole 10,000 women and men to thinking like, yeah, I can't settle. I'm like, that's settling, man. People get kill me with that.
That kind of hits on. I wrote a paper about something I think you might a topic that I know you kind of are fond of, and Kansas not so fond of.
Well, speak up, man.
I wrote a paper about how children and adolescents are impacted by single parent households, divorce, remarriage, and just cohabitation and all that. Like how the different, untraditional household settings kind of have a role on children's lives.
Yeah, I know some badass kids with both their parents, so it's whatever. What's the fire?
So, I mean, everything, all the research points towards that, like, having both parents is really like, it's gonna be supreme over all of that.
Hold that thought, because we have a question that might relate to what you're saying. Okay. Z says, why do y'all feel that this upcoming generation is more acceptable to changing norms compared to our parents' generation?
Because they ain't had no iPhone. No, I'm just That's just technology. I feel like technology changes so much, and it changes every day. So it's just going along with society today. Like, it's just crazy the way we could communicate and our parents couldn't. Just like when it come to girls, like our parents couldn't even. I can only imagine what our parents was on. Like our fathers and stuff, they was on some other shit. They had real excuses. Like, why you ain't answer the phone? I wasn't near a payphone. Like, what are they gonna say, bro?
I actually lived before AIDS and all that shit. I'm like, that'd been crazy.
You said before what?
Before AIDS.
The time before AIDS was probably lit.
It's crazy.
But my answer to that is
new problems.
I feel like with somewhat how you were saying, but I think the internet, it displays different options on lifestyles. Like, I feel like back in the day, they kind of saw how their dad's lifestyle worked out, and you kind of like, your mom's worst lifestyle. You saw how it worked out and the decisions they made, and you kind of had to make a decision strictly off your
how your community was moving.
Who you saw in the community. If you saw a dope boy in the community, or you saw like a rich successful neighbor or something like that, or your auntie or something like that. So you had like a limited view of how things play out in life. But now we see
you only got to travel to experience something else. You just go look.
Right. You basically with your social networks, you're keeping an eye on and tracking how everybody's lifestyle is going, the direction that they made, or the decision that they made more so in the direction that they chose. So like per se, you can see how the Forex is doing. Like I kind of like it, I kind of don't. You know what I'm saying? Like I might not do that, but there's just so many different options you can see.
You said Forex?
Yeah. That's just another it's a whole pathway of people taking that route, and you kind of everybody's on the fence.
There's also catfishers too. Catfishing. Yeah. I just traded for this. Yeah. All right.
Swank.
Swank.
One, like Devontae was saying, dad's in the crib. That has a big impact on certain things. I feel like it influences the way young men look at responsibility and relationships in general. Right. Although a lot of people would assume that you would have a higher level of affinity for your mother and for women in general if she raised you alone, it actually changes you, I think, and I can't explain it. I would have to check, research, but from the men that I observed, men who didn't have a very close relationship with their father, they tend not to be as smooth in the transition into relationships for me. And I think that affects the family, which affects, the community at large. The individual, the first thing is how are you upbringing? You know what I'm saying? And I also think that for women, our generation is so critical of monogamy and marriage. And I think it's oversimplified. You know what I'm saying? They've oversimplified the history of relationships and marriage to a point where they think of before it was horrible for women in all ways, and men just was getting over. Now we ain't going for that shit, so that's why we ain't get married. When in reality, it was dudes was in poverty, going to war every weekend. It was bad on bad. It was bad with bad. It wasn't like a dude with a king. He you handle all the dishes, baby, while I'm just chilling and I'm over here smoking. No, this man was going and cutting trees and fighting wolves, and you was going and having a lot of kids that you might not have wanted and cleaning dishes, and it was an equal, I guess, sharing of hard ass life. And I think it's simplified. People try to make it seem it was just horrible. And I think the impact of, not having those bonds or kind of looking down on it, it plays tricks with both men and women. To me, and this is just my personal experience, I feel as though for me as a man, even with in fleeting relationships with girls, you eventually get to the point where you're like, dog, I want more, or I think I'm supposed to be providing or playing a different role. And I think for women, there comes a point where you're like, I want something significant, even if it's not necessarily a man, it could be a woman, whatever. You want meaningful relationships, and it tends itself towards marriage and something consistent. And I think once you just change one thing, like if you question and challenge, hey, is there even a point to strive towards having a family or getting married? Then you'll question everything. Like, all right, so is there a point to even trying to look this certain way or trying to be a provider? Is there a point in trying to why should I as a woman want to tend to a house? It's like there's obvious reasons why it would be beneficial for you to be. You know what I'm saying? Well, actually, me as a guy, why do I have to learn how to fix a car or something like that? I'm like, there's obvious benefits as to why this needs to be done, or there's obvious benefits as why we shouldn't take this policy. But until you experience a revelation the way you think, I feel like you can't really approach that conclusion. So I also would say we don't have as big of pressing issues, and when you don't have any issues, you become complacent and change. So like our parents, I think there was wars. Even though we're in a war, it doesn't feel the same as I would say probably Vietnam or World War II, where you are constantly aware that dang, people are dying in the world. Like it's some serious. We could really be insulated. Like what I'm saying, for a moment, like you don't even feel the pressure of damn, bro. Like some people are in places where tribes is coming to kill them tonight. Like so when you get so convenient and lax, you start questioning everything. Like are boys, what is gender? That's not a real question. Like, what I'm saying? Like, but you have the time to think of such things. So I think, comfort, too much excessive comfort, and, what I'm saying, the changing of our family structure and our beliefs about family is the biggest reasons why we change tradition. You know what I'm saying?
I think college really was probably the next biggest factor, just because I feel like when college wasn't even popular for a while, so women was kind of just holding down at the crib, and men were naturally getting paid more and having grittier jobs and all that. And then as college kind of took off, I feel like more and more women started to go to college, and that kind of, for one, when you go into college, you get college debt. And so now women and men are equally both coming out and kind of betting on themselves and getting some debt. And so like now they feel like they have to get to a certain point in their careers before settling down with a family with debt. They feel like they got to get to a certain point in their careers to really, make up for that debt. So like now we're in that debt era, and I feel like that's what's going to be different about the next generation to come. Like this generation, they're coming out and like this is like the avoiding the rat race generation. Like I feel like we're kind of like on the tail end of that, but now everybody is starting to see like, all right, college got caught. Everybody got caught in the college wave. And now they're in debt, and so we are the example for them now to see, like, all right, I don't want to do that, because for one, I don't even want to be in that job, and for two, I don't want all that debt. So like, kids is coming out now, and they're like, oh, I want to be a content creator.
Yeah,
like
start a business, LLC.
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot, like
Scats,
real estate, all that, and content creator. I'm like,
you said real estate.
Yeah, they coming like,
don't Jeezy on your whole block, bro.
Shouts out to Big Snow.
Whole man. Hashtag whole man.
That boy Kenzie really salty about that Gucci.
I'm not salty, bro. It just is what it is. We ain't even gonna get into that. Cody, I see you posted, you pinned a comment. What did you pin?
It's Treese. He said, women have rights now.
Who said that?
Who said that?
Patrice.
What the fuck? No,
nah, that's...
Yeah, women do have rights. You're right.
That's the common rhetoric, like that if they had rights, then they wouldn't have got married. And I'm like, it's an ahistorical viewpoint.
I want y'all to think about this. I saw this funny, like, I guess, article, and it was basically saying, like, in the 1900s, there was a 3% divorce rate. And pretty much, if you wanted to get divorced, you had to like concoct a reason with your attorney so that it would make sense to get approved for the divorce. And a lot of people were denied divorce because they felt like men that would lose their financial responsibility to take care of a family, and they would be like less effective men. I thought that was really interesting. I'm like, Slick could be right.
It's true. It's like there's so many little small consequences of it. Like when you don't have a family, You can move different. Like us as young dudes, without the pressure. If I wasn't feeling like, oh, one day I'm gonna have a wife, one day I'm gonna have kids. Our starting jobs with budgeting, you know, you can be straight. You can have sneakers. Yeah, you got sneakers. You got a nice little apartment. Your car and everything be straight. You don't need to really plan as far ahead when you riding on your solo dolo. I think when you know, hey, I have a kid, I got something to live for.
Yeah.
You think different, you step different. And the same with women. I'm like, when you know I'm a mother and you know saying somebody depending on me, you move different. You have a sense of purpose that a single woman or single man cannot. They're not gonna have forever. And people say, oh well, some people do, and I think they do. I will argue they do. I am just very critical of the percentage of people that they think should. I think it should be almost less than 10%. And that 10% should be damn near superstar, like you genius level at something. You know how to fix a new computer, or you're a singer at Beyonce type. It shouldn't be regular people like, yeah, I'm just like, man, you need to find a wife, bro. It's time to find a life. Like go, like and some people arguing. I'm like, bro, it's
Cody go catch you on the street
you,
at 33. Like, what you doing? I'm just gonna go out, bro. Go start a family. What the fuck? Get out of here.
It's because it's really a new thing. You gotta think about it. Like you gotta think about Jesus in them time. Like 36 with no family. Like, yo, this man.
Right. Are you fucking kids?
Yeah, they're like, what's up with you?
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I would still think that. And I'm like, bro, y'all look wild.
All the way up to like 1960 is probably like, if you're in the 30s and you don't have a family connection, it's like you get
back then. It was probably insane. Now it's just crazy, bro.
All right, so Kenzie, I ain't really heard what you had to say about this.
About that, because we had this, we kind of had this topic before. Deep sigh. Repeat the question again, because I want it fresh, and I can't remember what.
Oh, we kind of just swirled into this conversation.
Yeah, y'all swirled into a lot of different things.
It was just really like this generation is moving in the direction of not,
accepting the traditional, ways.
Word.
Kind of part of that way, right?
I just hate. Okay, this is when I was getting into the women bashing.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna step back into that.
Right?
We still on that. It was more when I had this argument. I was agreeing with y'all was when women want to like get rid of traditions. Only certain traditions they want to get rid of. Cooking, cleaning, but they do want to go have. That's what I don't like. I don't like selective traditions, but for sure, the idea is definitely to find a wife, start a family, raise your kids, build a happy home, and build a happy generation for the next, like the Burgess to come for me, for my family.
Just dip when you feel like.
Just dip when you feel. Nah, This is when I, parted ways with you guys that some people get too lost in it and they will consider life a failure if they don't achieve that. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to step away from. I wouldn't consider myself a failure.
Of course not.
I will only consider myself. You're about to say, of course not. Only if you don't give a fuck about kids.
You give it such an extreme. Like it's not. You're not a failure. You failed in that. You failed in that.
I thought you like do something like that. I just don't think you failed. If you
ever talk about how far we let a separation go?
A separation.
Yeah.
Oh, let's get into it. Define separation for y'all.
Okay, so since we're talking about
separations are stupid,
maintaining marriages and
divorce or nothing.
You don't believe in separation?
Separation is you turning. Who do I always bring up? You turn into Will Smith. You become. You're a joke. You're agreeing to like.
Keep going. What you saying about? What you saying about? What was the question?
Okay, the question really at hand is
how far would you let separation go?
Like if the goal is to keep marriage by any means necessary, how far will you let separation go? Like, will you do the date around separation, or is it strictly like you take time to focus on yourself and you come back? Or
I feel like you should be willing to go up to a year with no sex in marriage and not fold.
Yeah, so not cheat, not step out.
Y'all should be able to go so rocky that you could just get in the bed and just roll over for at least a year. before you even
And you say that's
Might not sleep
separation
in the same bed. That's fine.
Nah, you have. To me, I'm like, it's just
for the kid.
you have to have some type of illogical devotion to this woman to do. It's not you're not supposed to be comfy like, hey, I ain't really feeling shorty right now. I'm on the couch with it. Like, no, bro. Like,
I'm saying you
it has to be.
cave, you gonna really be real comfortable couching in the man
Nah,
cave.
you can. There's so much you can play video games and then just get back in that bed, but you can't fold. You have to give it a chance to maintain through some storms. I feel as though we're growing a society that thinks like, I'm like, you think you finna just live off this marriage and straight like sex vibes and like all vacationing? Are you not prepared for maybe y'all have a little financial down? Can you stand the rain? If you can't,
Facts.
stop getting in. I think you need to be. I'm mentally prepared that hey, we might go through some tough stuff.
Cody said,
I'm
down. I'm down to not speak for you for a year, but we gonna stay in the house.
We gonna stay in that house. And
I agree. I don't
I'll
like.
cook breakfast for you.
I don't even
Mad
want to
as hell.
consider that. I don't even want to consider that a real separation, bro. I just hate like movies. They're like, yeah, your dad's gonna move out for about a couple of months, so until we see what we want to do. I'm like, no.
I don't believe in that.
That's more regular than y'all think.
It's
I know
very
it's
regular.
but I don't believe it. I don't believe that's.
In my mind, I'm
I'm
like,
saying you don't think you might like you can see where y'all need y'all space and just see how that is first to live like apart and really come.
if you reach that divorce, over with.
I'm
They're
saying,
the-
you'll
they're the
live in
full-
easy then. That's
So tell me what is your what could be the causation that you would accept for you having to live outside?
And I want y'all to know Vontae's the
Or
rich
for-
one, so
or for-
he's gonna
or
be
for
the
her
one
Yeah.
able to move out and
What's-
get an apartment.
What's a
for
reason?
free.
What's a reason that you would be willing to get physically separate, like you out the house of your wife and kids?
I feel like if we ever just got to the point where we just wasn't seeing eye to eye and it wasn't the happiness there, I think to initially just go for the divorce kind of like it's not giving it the full chance in my opinion, because once you move out and y'all are actually seeing a sliver of what it might be if you just lived alone. And that didn't like, damn, I kind of want my wife back. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like another layer of like.
You know what? I'll go back on my opinion on that because by, 45, 50, 53 years old, I don't know where my head would be. So
Yeah, imagine being somebody for
Might be
like
different.
15 years and you like, I don't even know who I am or what life is like or what I would be like without this person.
but from 26 to like early 30s, no,
Yeah, it can't be at the top of the marriage. Like, all right,
no,
none of them thinking about let's take a break.
none of that. But
I'm on hell no to everything. The reason I say that is because I feel as though I've heard it. People said that happened to their family probably like 4 to 5 times. One of them they stayed together. So to me, my observation is that the statistics is not good. Like to get comfortable in a lifestyle where you're riding solo dolo, it kind of gets you comfortable. Like it can be the finishing piece. To me, you staying in the crib. Imagine this. Imagine it's not cataclysmic. Imagine it's just like, man, she wants a little more romance and you just not feeling her. Man, something happened at the job or something. She's just feeling a little lesser. It could be something like that causes a rift in y'all for a couple months. Y'all not as happy. Y'all not, sexually active, whatever the case may be. But you're not like murderous with each other. Mm-hmm. To me, I feel like that period during that period, just giving acts of affection that y'all are on your regular chore list can get y'all back straight. So, for example, like if you have some kids, you could be mad at your girl, but going and getting the boys a haircut and going to their game, just the vibe of fatherliness, like right there is kind of like, I love this man. But you go home and your wife cooked a meal. It's like even if she give it to you mad, you like, man.
But that's why I said
you
funny as give it to you, man.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. In like 20 years from now, that's gonna be different.
Regular. That's what I'm saying.
And
like,
kids gonna be grown. You gonna be like, man, fuck them kids. They on their own anyway.
You thinking of like fresh baby, like, oh, I've never seen him behind with his kids like that. That's a whole new view on him.
Yeah,
once you see that for like 10 years, you like, that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's your responsibility.
Well, okay,
from like right now to like 40, I'm on what you saying, but after that, there's no telling.
I think what you guys are saying, it is better to do what you guys are saying if you have a kid. If you ain't got no kid, who the fuck going back? what is your pull to go back? You have grown adult kids. Y'all separated. You're financially stable. Even if why wouldn't you just date this? Why wouldn't you just date your wife again? What would be your instinct or push to get back in that crib?
I'll say this.
Nothing. You need the kids to come back.
I seen my mom pull the card.
Okay.
And that shit worked. So, like, that's, just my experience, though, because I'm sure it's a lot of people who didn't go back. But, like...
She gambled.
When I was... Yeah, she did gamble shit. But when I graduated high school, my moms, they weren't seeing eye to eye. And she was like, all right, you talking about this your house? I'm gonna go give me a little apartment, and then we gonna basically work on it from there. And then that way, she had her own footing to argue. If she wasn't feeling the argument, then she could do it. But like,
how old were they?
Shit, old as fuck.
Exactly.
How long it last?
But I'm saying they were older.
She got a 1 year lease, and like they was pretty much dating by the end of her lease, and she was spending the night over there. So she kind of just was like, it wasn't a full year term, but pretty much. It was like her backup, like, all right, nigga, you act up, I'm going back to my crib.
But that's what I was saying. Like, at an older age, you graduated high school, I will. But right now to 40, fuck.
I'll give it right now to 35.
35.
35?
Yeah.
I'll say
Nigga, 35, your kid like 10.
Right.
If that. It might be 8
I don't
years
know,
old.
because y'all boys is due.
Oh, nah. You leaving a young, you're like, where's dad at? And you just gotta be like, your mom's tripping.
I'm not saying.
I can't look at my little guy like that. Like,
I'm not saying that's the first option. Like, I'm just saying, like, that's the last option.
Cody,
y'all are saying y'all last option is divorce.
My
like,
last
you
option.
leaving out the crib as a divorce. That's what you saying.
My last option is really like, but it also.
Cody said till death.
No, it's not even that. It's like, it also comes into the culture of the way I date and what I find like admirable in women. You always crack jokes like Cody real strict on that. I don't consider a woman tenable, like a livable situation, if they're like highly like combustible, volatile, like some people got a little volume, they got a little sharp tongue. So they debate, it requires that one day you might need to go ahead and have a little backup plan. I want someone who is their nature is it's not that they don't get in arguments, but they're not inclined to being so crazy that I couldn't chill in my house. Like if it's at that point, or when I see that, to me, this is signs like you don't need the foresight. And I think if I didn't have my kids and I was feeling that way, I would be at the point like no messy shit. I'm too old for the thinking. I'm like, go ahead and
that's
slide.
The financial goal, man. House so big you can avoid each other comfortably.
Yeah,
that's the real. Like I'm gonna have a pool house. I'm like, fuck, I'm in a pool house.
Right.
Shit.
And that's what I'm saying though. What was I saying?
Your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but like I feel like all in all, that's definitely not my first option, and I definitely wouldn't want to be out the crib because the father is going to obviously get less time with his kids. I'm not saying that's what I want at all. I'm just saying I would rather go through that step before I'm submitting the divorce papers as I'm packing bags out the crib. Like I have to see, because I'm somebody who like I gotta really see what it's like to be alone again. And I just want to see and feel it. I'm like, I might just be feeling that moment like, man, I don't need my wife back, and that might be a more regretful feeling.
So Cody, how long you sticking around when you don't love your wife no more?
2 years.
Like it's year 2, ain't no love, gotta go. And that's the thing too.
And it sounds crazy to people, but look, what you're
2
saying.
years is a long.
That's a long time. That it to me is that is the effort that a husband and wife like. That means you put in some time. Like you gave it anniversaries, birthdays, Christmases, just to get a chance to get this back. If you can't 2 years, I believe in but all this, and we wasn't vibing for 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you missed one day. I'm like, come on, bro.
Right.
Like,
you got another birthday.
It's got to be bigger. It's got to be stronger than boyfriend girlfriend. Boyfriend girlfriend can tough it out. We going through a hard time for 3 to 6 months. I would say most couples probably go through a rocky patch of unhappiness 3 to 6 months before they official finish. Right. So you saying for a marriage, what would you expect? I would say it should be at least double. So and what you're saying with I'm not saying that I would just go straight to divorce. I'm saying. I look at it like this, whereas you may go 8 months unhappiness, 6 months at a new apartment. Yeah. I'm more of go 2 years unhappiness at the crib and just leave if it's not right. If we couldn't fracture it, I don't really agree with the touching base.
I feel like
that's my
we
thing.
are viewing time in a different fashion. 2 years for us right now is a long time.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like once we get into like an automatic motion with kids, families, working, like, you know what I'm saying, 2 years can go quick, and then you know what I'm saying, like, even how you were saying, like, you don't prefer like a volatile woman. Explosion happens for anybody over years and years of something piling up in their brain or weighing on them in their mind, and so
Facts.
that's why I'm like, I feel like the time passes differently, and I feel like 2 years may be a long time to us, but it could be really quick.
Well, I also think even consider the lifestyle you would live at age 40 and above if you just divorce or leave your wife. What's the activities you engage in? Like, you go to work, you hit the gym.
You said when you divorce your wife or separate?
No, separate for a moment. Is you
Oh,
and your wife, are y'all going to bars, or is it like really just the same schedule? Work, gym.
I don't know about you, but I'm gonna be a young, sexy, salt and peppered father.
Oh, I'm.
You talking about his separation? You talking about his separation?
Yeah, it is separation.
I'm pretty damn handsome in my.
That means y'all boys better tighten up when I separate. I'm like, fellas, what y'all want?
I'm like, you trying to have parties.
I ain't gonna be throwing a party like y'all niggas trying to pull up.
I'm gonna be the cookout, like, yeah, shit, y'all pull up cook for the game. Y'all get away from y'all wives. I'm free.
That's exactly what I'm on.
I just couldn't imagine.
I'm on that now.
I don't want to see her. I don't want to see her at the bar, like with ball things, like playing.
That's why I don't. That's what I was.
What is you doing, bro?
I would not like separation.
That's what you were thinking of.
With the agreement of seeing other
what do you
people.
think happens in that?
We're not agreeing to see other people.
If your life stays regular, again, I'm probably gonna leave. It's just too much fun. Like, well, we could just date, and I got my own space. Like, why even?
Cause you might be like, I don't really want my own space. I thought I did, but I don't.
You said what?
I'm saying you might really be like, I don't want my own space. Like I thought I did, and I got a taste of it, and now I got old.
And then she gonna be like, well, you messed up. I got a taste. I want it. Get out. Get away from me.
That's the obvious risk with separation, and even more so for divorce. Is like it's usually one ended of like one person wants it more than the other.
I just know by like 40, 45 years old, I'm just like, cool. Like kids.
What if Kenzie ended up having like the Jalen Rose hairline? It's possible.
He definitely
What
like
He might have something
if?
like that. Oh, you don't have no.
I don't have no
plans
words.
for
I look
baldness?
at my
You need to have a
father's.
backup plan for baldness.
You right.
You
Is
don't have
this
no
right
backup
here?
plan for
Is
baldness.
this right here? I got chin hair and a mustache. I'm good now.
Oh,
I
I
can
get a
survive.
goatee.
I'm
want that so
good
bad.
now.
I
I
look
look
at
at
the lamb chop. Like niggas put that away. It's getting cold.
yeah, Luda.
Oh, I keep it here and there. I keep it here and there. Well, hold on. Let's stop. Let's get a Monte's Monday mental health.
We're gonna end this on that note. And my mental health Monday, I'm gonna post this snippet. But I mean, okay, I really wanted to share a testimony for my mental health Monday this time around because maybe I should get this recorded.
Maybe, yeah, get IG up. Hey guys, if you guys didn't know, this is
I'm just doing it.
the CEO of Scat Snacks that we're here.
Big boy, big Zai.
Biz. Joey wouldn't like that. Don't call yourself Big Zai.
I don't understand where people are getting the big Zai. Like, how do they claim it?
Cause we kept. Joey said, I'm smoking that Zai right now.
I
They
ain't
call
never
me
seen
Big
him
Zai.
type of nothing.
Look, don't question Big.
Alright, shouts out to Joey.
Joey question.
So today, Mental Health Monday, I wanted to give a testimony of, my experience and just challenge myself to be my best self. So when I started grad school, I always envisioned myself as being a better student.
Word.
And doing things on time because I am a serial procrastinator. And I want to tell y'all that I just put myself through hell because of procrastination. I knew about this paper that I had to do about, the marriage and remarriage and divorce and all that. So this was an 8 to 10 page paper that I knew that I had to do. And this was like the one big assignment out of this class. It was worth like 45 points of the 100 points of the class. And I was like, when I first got it, I was like, damn, it's a big paper. I'm going to get to it though. And I'm going to get to it. I didn't start the paper till the week of. And, I was just really hard on myself. Like, man, I'm not that good of a student. I think I'm just naturally smart, but I don't think I'm not that good of a student. And my girl told me, like, don't say that. And I was like, yeah, you tripping. I'm a good student. I could be a better student. And so my message to y'all for Mental Health Monday is, recognize where you're causing your own stress, and recognize where you can do better. Don't beat yourself up about it though. Just do better. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, some people can withstand the you ain't that good, you stupid. But all in all, most people, if you really telling yourself that, it's gonna start to harvest some negative feelings against yourself. So all in all, recognize what you can do better. Recognize where you're causing your own stress and do something about it. And if you don't, initially, just keep ticking away at it. Take the baby steps. Like, overall, I have become a better student since I got into grad school, but I've also become a better finessa. And I also just got to embrace that too. You know what I'm saying? But that's all I got to say about the mental health. You dig? It's the boy, Artae Swank, and the mental health.
And on that note, we are out. This episode of Perspective Junkies is concluded.
Perspective
Junkies. Make sure y'all follow us on Twitter at PJunkie Podcast, and then Instagram Perspective Junkie Podcast.
We done turned up the heat in here.
Yeah, it's got a little toasty. All right, we out, man.
I've been swinging.
Junkie.